Blog Talk Radio.
Are you ready to take a bite out of the competition? Are you looking for ideas to make your business better? Welcome to the Core Business Show with Tim Jake, sponsored by Apple Capital Group. At the core of every successful business, you'll find people making a difference. And with each episode of the Core Business Show, we talk with those people, examine those ideas, and explore the strategies that make them special. Now, the host of the Core Business Show, Tim Jake.
Good morning and welcome to another episode of the Core Business Show. I'm Tim Jake, your host. Today we're going to talk about hypnotism. Our topic is Change Your Life with Hypnotism with Jake Shannon. If you'd like to join in the conversation, go ahead and email us at info@thecorebusinessshow, or you can pose a question in the chat room, or you can go ahead and dial in 347-324-3460. We'll be open for calls in the next 10 minutes. Well, Jake, welcome to the program.
Hey, thank you so much, Tim.
I guess to begin with, our listeners love personal stories. So kind of tell us what your story, how did you get started?
I'm going to be 40 this coming year, and I started with hypnosis. Well, congratulations or condolences, I'm not sure which yet, but I'm going to be 40, and when I was 16 is when I first got introduced to hypnosis. I had cancer when I was a teenager, benign. And my oncologist, my cancer doctor, suggested I look into hypnosis to help mitigate some of the pain and things of that nature. There's a lot of kind of great applications with hypnosis beyond just having people quit smoking or have people do embarrassing things on stage. So I've been involved with it for quite some time, but I didn't really just make that leap to do it professionally, to really commit to it. It was just more of a hobby for a very long time, and I've always been passionate about it. I ended up getting my master's of science in financial engineering, which is basically financial mathematics, and I did that for a number of years and made a lot of money, but I was not happy. I really wasn't, and the cliche about money not buying happiness, at least in my case, was completely true. So I started looking around and thinking, what can I do? I want to get out of finance, and at least in that kind of capacity, and needed to do something that was more fulfilling. And as I kind of looked over my history and I started cataloging all the things that I could do, hypnosis kept coming up and over again. And so I thought, I'm going to actually chase my passion and do this. And here we are today. So now I do all kinds of stuff. I mean, I've written books on hypnosis. I have a hypnotherapy practice. It's here in Salt Lake City, but thanks to things like technology like Skype, I have clients all over the United States, and I love it. And I do not only just not the hypnotherapy exclusively, I also do stage shows, consulting, things of that nature as well.
Wow, stage show. Well, tell us, what is a hypnotist? I mean, how do you train for that? How actually you bring someone from conscious to this gray area of the world that we're not able to experience, or we haven't experienced, right?
Well, so a hypnotist is somebody that's trained in a certain method to help you get rid of problems that are kind of like the automatic, sometimes you're listening to a song and it's like a great song, you really like it, and you look down and you realize your foot's been tapping the whole time. Well, these kind of things are automatic. This is your unconscious. Well, a hypnotist can help you with that. Now, the funny thing is that there's all kinds of certifying bodies and whatnot. And I think that's good if you find a good one for doing some sort of quality control. But beyond that, just like anything, there's kind of a natural talent, I think, to being a hypnotist. And I think a closer analogy, a lot of times people, they think it's like brainwashing or mind control or something crazy like that. I think a better analogy as to what a good hypnotist is like, I think it's probably closest to being a good writer or a good author. For example, somebody like a Stephen King or something. You think about it, as a hypnotist, I don't have voodoo, I don't have psychic skills, I don't have pills or potions. I have language. But language is how we think. And you look at something like a Stephen King novel or whatever novelist, The Hunger Games or Harry Potter or something, I don't know. But if you read those books, you could be in the middle of a crowded casino with people bumping into you and shouting on a cell phone and bells and whistles going off. And if you like that author, as you crack that book open, and there's no pictures, just words, but you get absorbed and everything goes away and you kind of fall into that world. And if it's scary, you'll get goosebumps, or if it's funny, you'll laugh. And that's kind of how it is. And in a similar way, sometimes people will read a book and it could absolutely change their lives. Well, that's kind of what happens with hypnosis. It's not all that different. I think that's probably maybe the best comparison for people who have not been hypnotized before.
What are the misconceptions of having people hypnotized? Are they going to do some weird things? Or some people have the fear of that, but some people really can use a method that if they're shy, they want to bring themselves out a little bit better. Or if they, like you mentioned, some people use it for weight or some other type of treatment or give them confidence. Are there some general misconceptions regarding the hypnosis?
Yeah, I mean, there is like a ton. Now, I do stage hypnosis and I love it. It's very fun doing hypnosis for entertainment, like comedy hypnosis. And it's great. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I think most hypnosis practitioners owe a great debt to stage hypnotists because that's how most people actually have heard about hypnosis. Now, that is a bit of a double-edged sword because then people get kind of freaked out because anybody who's seen these shows, people barking like a dog or doing something ridiculous and funny, they get a little freaked out. The way you have to think about it is like this. It's like a distribution in statistics, and you'll have to forgive me. I use this metaphor again because of my background in finance, but it's like a normal distribution in statistics. You have on one tail, maybe, let's say we have a group of 100 people. In one tail, you have the people that are hard to hypnotize. In the big hump, you have maybe 80% of the people, and they're like your typical person who can be hypnotized, but they're not like super suggestible. And then on the other side of the tail, you have maybe 10 or 15 people, and they are super suggestible. Those are the people that the stage hypnotist selects for to bring up on stage. So it's not common that people are that suggestible. There's a certain process to make sure those people are the ones that come up on the stage, because as a stage hypnotist, you only have like 10 minutes to hypnotize 10 or 15 people. So you need the highly suggestible. But when it comes to more of a hypnotherapy context, you can get almost everybody because you have an hour or 2 hours and it's one-on-one. So you have to think about it in terms of that continuum. Just like running a mile. If I had 100 people in a room, 10 or 15 people might be able to run a 6-minute mile. And then the big hump, the 80%, would probably be able to run a mile in, say, 15, 20 minutes. And then on the very end of the tail is the people who take like 2 hours. And what you'll find is that this kind of distribution is very common. People who've never been hypnotized before, again, it's like reading a book or watching a movie. Think about like Star Trek. You have 100 people go see a Star Trek movie. Well, out of that 100, 10 or so are like, yeah, it was okay, whatever, I liked it. And then about 80 or so are like, oh, that was great. Maybe I'll buy a T-shirt or a lunchbox. But then you have that 10%, and these are like the highly suggestible people. You have that 10%, and they end up like going to like Klingon conventions and like dressing up on the weekends like Captain Kirk. This is the same people. This is a very common phenomenon, but just people call it different things in different contexts.
Wow. We're going to take a break real quick, and we'll be back in a moment to talk more about hypnosis. Be back in a moment. You listen to the Core Business Show.
You're listening to the Core Business Show, sponsored by Apple Capital Group. Apple Capital Group in Jacksonville, Florida, is a commercial lender that specializes in asset-based loans, equipment leasing and financing, invoice financing, commercial real estate loans, and asset-based financing in the U.S. and Canada. Apple Capital Group is a direct lender that lends on their private equity investment portfolio. 90% of most loans are decided within 2 hours, and vendor funding within 24 hours after documents are completed, with a one-page application. No slow no's, just a quick decision and a fast yes. To get more information about lending from Apple Capital Group, call 866-611-7457. That's 866-611-7457 to speak with one of our loan specialists. Or visit us right now at applecapitalgroup.com. Welcome back to the Core. Once again, here's Tim Jacquet.
We're back with Jake Shannon. We were talking about hypnosis. Jake, when we talk about the effects of hypnosis with someone to lose weight or gain confidence, how do you actually I know you said certain segments will be in different stages. When it comes to someone who's overweight and they want to lose weight, how do you take them through that journey through hypnosis and to see if there's going to be a good option for them?
Well, it's very seldom. Now, here's the problem. Just like any kind of endeavor, whether it's a doctor or a masseuse or a auto repairman, you're going to have people who are at different skill levels, different levels of passion for their particular craft. And because of that, different hypnotists are going to have different results. If you get a good hypnotist, it is very powerful, and typically it works for nearly everybody because you'll have a larger toolkit by which to affect change in people. Now, that said, say somebody wants to lose weight, what you have to help people understand, if you're helping them with something that's like a medical hypnosis, something like maybe pain management related or something, that's a different issue. But if you're dealing with something that's the function of a habit, say example with food, a lot of times in these cases, the reason why people come to see me as a hypnotist is not because they have a medical problem. Now, their behavior may have resulted in a medical problem, like obesity, can have problems like diabetes, high blood pressure, things of that nature. But I tell them, you don't have a medical problem. You don't even have a psychological problem. I tell them that they have an ethical problem. And that's usually where they kind of look at me cross-eyed for a second. And I explain it this way. Because most people think of ethics between two people. I tell them, like, you've come to my office, we were complete strangers, and yet you've come to my office, we've been very pleasant and nice to each other, and you have shown up on time, and I've shown up on time. And we're complete strangers. It's expected. If we hadn't done those things, one of us would be miffed, probably. And yet, it's obvious to do that with other people, even complete strangers, and yet with yourself, it's okay to flake, to say you're going to do something and never follow through. It's okay to maybe be abusive or excessively rough in your self-conversations or the ways you think about yourself. And I tell them that it's not, that this is an ethical problem, but it's a problem with the way that you treat yourself. And so I offer them the ability to make them conscious of their unconscious conversations and agreements. And again, these are words. And for some reason, people are okay with signing a binding contract with another person. People are okay with taking a solemn vow or an oath and keeping that, and taking it seriously with other people. But for some reason, people make thunder out of a fart when they do that to themselves. They can't just say they're going to do something and then follow through. And I tell them, like, you could lie to me, you could lie to your friends, but you can't lie to yourself and get away with it. You can lie to yourself, but you're watching 100% of the time. This is where problems with self-esteem come from. And so as we get deeper into that and people understand their own role in their behavior, I try to convey to them that freedom in this context, maybe freedom from being overweight or overeating or eating a bad diet, freedom and responsibility are actually two sides of the same thing. Like a child, they don't have responsibilities. They don't have to pay for food or clothes or shelter, but they don't have any freedom either. Their parents are always telling them what to do. They're teachers. In that sense, when they get older and they start buying their own food, paying for their own clothes, that kind of thing, they can dress how they want, eat with who they want, when they want. And in that sense, freedom and responsibility are tied. And I try to get them more actively involved in their own fate. So really, I look at hypnosis not as a loss of control, but as a bigger and more profound and rich sense of controlling oneself by accepting that you do have this kind of autopilot, this unconscious. And how do you do that? How do you get that in line?
So if you back up for a second, and it's the same thing can be said with the people who smoke, is a habit base. In the 70s and 80s, there was this thing called subliminal messages. I think our parents did not want us to listen to. And I don't know if you remember, but if you turn the album backwards on Black Sabbath, you can get this message. But if you listen to it, you don't listen to it. How do you actually discern between those particular messages? Because you can't really necessarily hear them. But how does the mind pick up that?
Yeah, it's very interesting. There's actually a whole field kind of emerging called neuromarketing, is the way that they branded it. And neuromarketing is taking advantage of some of this stuff. Things they the term subliminal has kind of gotten a little bit like, I don't know, people are talking about that exact same concept, but for some reason that's not a cool word that scientists want to use anymore. I think because too many conspiracy theorists got a hold of it or something. So they use new words like cognitive priming or neuromarketing, how to see how your unconscious works. I mean, I actually offer a service where we do hypnotic focus groups, where we do focus groups for products, but actually I hypnotize them and get more of an unconscious appeal. When they're walking, what grabs their attention automatically, that kind of thing. So the thing you have to understand, in my book, I've written a book called The Hypnotist, Healer, Head Hacker, and Headliner. And in it, I deal with the kind of 3 different phases, the more popular phases of hypnosis, and I try to deal with the myths and expose people to some of the risks and the benefits of hypnosis. The first section, Healer, is about medical applications. The second is head hacking, and it's about this kind of thing, where things like subliminal messaging, cognitive priming, neuromarketing, these things are real. We know this. Sometimes it's uncomfortable for people, and you hear this thing, and it is a myth. People hear this thing that you can't be hypnotized against your will. That statement would be true if we just added a little clause to the end of that sentence. If instead we said, you can't be hypnotized against your will if you know that you're being hypnotized. That simple awareness, bam, you have 100% control. But the problem is, this is being hypnotized against your will or in a way that you necessarily wouldn't consent to is known as antisocial hypnosis. And it's been proven time and time again, not just academically in universities and stuff, but also obviously with the CIA and some of the black operations that they've been involved with, particularly MK Ultra. The thing that you have to understand is I have my own radio show, and the name of it is Mental Self-Defense. And the reason I picked that name is that just like self-defense, if you took a self-defense class or like one of these women self-defense classes or whatever, one of the biggest things that can help you, it's so simple, is called situational awareness. It's just kind of being aware that it can happen, that paying attention instead of having your head buried in your cell phone or something. When you're walking to your car, you keep your head up and you look around and make sure nobody's coming to get you. So you have a little time, or maybe they decide to pick an easier target. And so it is with mental self-defense. I think that people should know the very basics of hypnosis and how subliminal marketing and manipulation can work. And just by that very knowledge of understanding it, you don't have to be an expert by any means. You just have to understand how it works at a very simple level. And that alone really can help liberate you from making bad decisions, because there's a lot of people now, especially in sales, that are using things like NLP, which is NLP is kind of a mixed bag for me. Half of it works. I mean, and I'm talking that it's been proven with university tests. That part is largely the part that they've stolen from hypnosis. A lot of the other stuff is just jargon. They've used a lot of scientific sounding terms and computer programming metaphors to make it sound scientific, but there's no evidence. And as a matter of fact, they've been kind of taken to the woodshed by a lot of people in more academic circles trying to prove their claims. But the parts that do work are largely the antisocial hypnosis part, using what's called conversational hypnosis in more common parlance, or Ericksonian hypnosis. And largely the best way to see that coming, or to have a mental self-defense plan, is to just understand how it works. If people are interested, I talk a little bit about that in my book, The Hypnotist. The website, if people are interested, is hypnotistbook.com, and that'll take them right to the Amazon page.
Perfect. In closing, what do you suggest a person do if they're looking for a person for being a hypnotist, if they need to actually look at that particular option to get something done? And any other closing thoughts you might want to have, you want to give to the audience?
Well, I really appreciate the time, Tim, and you've been very liberal with allowing me just to kind of roll with it. It is a very vast field, and there is all kinds of strange, not only showmen, but then you're kind of hippies with crystals. And there's all, but hypnosis really, it's been accepted by the American Medical Association since the 50s. It's a very powerful method for helping people, not just with habits, But with other kind of issues like pain and whatnot, more interesting, and this is actually not controversial, it's just maybe more taboo, women can actually, you can do hypnotic breast enlargement. As crazy as that sounds, it's been proven time and time again in the academic journals. If you find somebody who knows what they're doing, women can go up 2 cup sizes. Actually, it's crazy how it sounds. It's really a powerful, powerful thing. If you're looking for somebody who's good, you have to be careful because certification doesn't necessarily mean much. Unfortunately, there was an investigative journalist who actually got his cat certified by 2 of the biggest certified bodies. So, and I'm just here to tell you, cats can't hypnotize you. So you have to be careful. So you want to find probably somebody who comes recommended. You try to find somebody who has a strong, a really positive reputation, has done a lot of good. That can help you a lot. If people are interested in coming to me, I can help them over, actually, the great thing about the internet is I can do it with this program called Skype, but it's what I call Hypnosis. So we can do that. I just had a client in Philadelphia and another one in Orange County in the last about 2 or 3 weeks. So that is definitely doable. But, you have to just use common sense. If you're going to lose weight to a hypnotist, if the guy is overweight himself, maybe you should find a different hypnotist. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So if people are interested, if they want to contact me, or they're interested in my book, or maybe setting up a hypnosis session via Skype, my website is very easy. It's like the word, the-hypnotist.com. So and then like a hyphen hypnotist.com. And
also you're on LinkedIn, and also you're reachable by Skype as well, right?
Yes, sir. So my Skype name is Jake.Shannon, like a little period, Jake.Shannon.
Great. Well, Jake, thank you for joining the program this morning.
Tim, I really appreciate it, man.
Okay. We'll look forward to talking to you in the future. I really appreciate it. Thank you again.
Okay. Have a great day.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye.
Same here. Again, this has been another production of the Core Business Show. Everybody, thank you for listening. You can download this episode on iTunes and Blog Talk Radio. Also, we ask you if you can go on and write reviews on these shows. We really appreciate it. Everybody have a great day, and thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening to the Core Business Show with Tim Jacquet. For more information about equipment financing and asset-based loans, visit our website, applecapitalgroup.com. That's applecapitalgroup.com. Or call us at 866-611-7457. We hope you'll join us for our next episode. And remember, you can always get to the core via iTunes. You'll find all our previous episodes there. And thanks again for listening to the Core Business Show with Tim Jacquet.